Hello. Today I want to look at finding the main idea and supporting details in a bit longer of a reading. We're going to be looking at identifying constellations. And anytime I read an article, I always look at the title to make sure I know what I'm reading about. So I'm going to think to myself, what's a constellation? It sounds familiar, I might think. And I might have to look at the pictures for more help and realize, oh, yeah, those are when the stars in the sky make an image. Now I know what I'm reading about before I start. For thousands of years, people have come up with ways of identifying and keeping track of stars in the night sky. One way the ancient cultures made sense of the stars was grouping them into recognizable shapes. Sometimes these shapes were based on elements of everyday life animals, such as birds or bears, people, such as hunters and so on. Other times, the shapes took the form of mythic heroes and monsters. These shapes, called constellations, helped ancient people make sense of the sky. They also gave rise to some amazing stories. One constellation that most people can identify is the Big Dipper. The Big Dipper is a constellation of seven stars that looks like a long handled cup or dipper for water. Three stars form the handle and connect to the four stars that form the cup. The Big Dipper is part of the larger constellation called Ursa Major, or the Great Bear. The Big Dipper also points to Polaris, the North Star. Another easy constellation to spot is Orion, the Hunter. To see Orion, look for the three stars that are close together in a slightly diagonal line. That's Orion's belt. Other stars above and below the belt form Orion's upper and lower body. What was the main idea of what I just read? We know that we read about constellations, but what is the author saying about them? If you're not sure, you want to think about what did it talk about? It talked about all these groupings. Why? Why did it talk about how different stars are grouped together? I think it's because these shapes, called constellations, helped ancient people make sense of the sky. Oh boy, I'll just leave it like that. Let's now see if we can find proof of that. How did ancient people make sense of the sky through these shapes? Well, if we had read, we saw that people grouped them into recognizable shapes. That might be part of it. Sometimes they were based on everyday life, animals, birds, bears. Other times they took the form of mythic heroes and monsters. And they also gave rise to amazing stories. Hmm, so that tells us a lot. I would say our main idea of this reading is that shapes called constellations helped ancient people make sense of the sky. And we know that our evidence is people made stories about them, some based on heroes and mythical monsters. Some stories were based on objects of everyday life. That would be our evidence or our proof that people made different shapes called constellations to make sense of the stars in the sky. Thank you, everyone.